Hi there and welcome to my video today. We are going to be working on an altered board book. So if you've never done it before, this is a great little tutorial to get you started. So we're going to need some basic supplies. Obviously, we need a board book, and you can get this in any used bookstore. You can also get it in Dollar Tree. I heard they have some sometimes. Or if you have some left over from your kids, that's the best option. The next thing we're going to need is some kind of adhesive. I use satin medium. A lot of people use craft glue. You decide what's best for you. You do want to think about how you're going to use the book in the future, because if you're going to sell it or use it as a product, you want to make sure that it's not going to fall apart. And something like this has an archival nature so that it won't disintegrate the papers. You're also going to need some kind of gesso or a sanding block. It could even be sandpaper, that works too. And then you want a paintbrush to apply it, and then any kind of papers that you want to collage with it. I just collected some that I have printed on my jelly plate, and I don't really know what I'm going to use, but I just wanted to give myself some options. This gives you a little idea of what a board book can look like. A lot of times people are wondering why you make a board book, but there's a lot of different ways you can use it. You can create your own unique artist book, so it kind of shows your techniques and your style. It's also a great way to create your own kind of art journal. So the bigger sizes are better for this because you can actually collage and create in here, and then maybe make a little area where you can write in it for your own personal reflections. You can try new techniques in these kind of books. They're a great place to practice. And also you can use it kind of as a time capsule. You can add photos or just use as your own personal journal. So this was one I just experimented with, a tiny one. It was a lot of fun. So I wanted to try something a little bigger. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do when you're altering your board book is obviously figure out what page you're going to do first. I just like to start at the beginning. And usually there's some kind of sheen on it, a little shine. So you want to rough that up. You can either just sand it a little bit and just take the shine off. You see, it comes off real easy. Or you can gesso. I prefer gesso only because I don't want to see any of the funny little sayings in the back or any of the pictures. So you want to just do a light first coat of gesso and then let it dry and then do another light coat. So I'm just going to let that dry. You can also use a hair dryer or a artist tool dryer if you could dry it faster. Okay, so that has dried. I'm going to put on another second thin layer. And the other reason you want to do this is just to provide a little tooth for the papers to stick to. So gesso is an all-around helpful base. Doesn't have to be a lot. I don't want to get it goopy. Just want to have that good base for the papers to stick to. So now that this is completely dry, we have a surface we can really work on. Something to think about when you're using multiple pages, you might want to put a piece of wax paper in between so that when you're working on this page and some glue or color gets through, it'll just go right onto the wax paper and not onto your other page. This is the kind that I use. It's just a basic Logan 6 by 10 3/4 sheet. I have it in my Amazon store. I can link it in the description below. So now I'm going to have some fun collaging. Let's kind of pick through my papers. I'm going to use this book just something fun to play in, so I'm not going to get too picky about how it looks or what I'm layering down. So here I'm using the satin medium. I do like to use satin because I don't really like a shiny, glossy finish. So you decide what finish you want. So I'm just starting by putting some papers down, not really thinking too much about it. I do a little bit of a map out of shapes just so that they're not totally overlapping each other. I like to leave a little bit to the creative process so I can kind of make decisions as I go. So it's all dry. And then at this point, what I like to do is go in and trim off all these edges that kind of overlapped while I was creating. So I'm using a self-healing cutting board and just a little X-Acto knife. That way you can see how it gives like a nice clean edge to the pages. And then sometimes I go back in and add a little satin medium and just kind of glue it to the edge. You could see how cleaning that up gives it a nicer edge. Okay, so next, what I like to do is just add some marks and use some stamps, and then I can kind of move on to the next page. I'm going to just experiment in it. This is the great part of this. It's not an expensive book, and I can kind of just play in it and try out new techniques and have fun. So I think I'm going to stop there and just kind of let it dry and move on to the next page. And then I'll come back and maybe add some more. But it's a lot of fun to work this way because I can kind of come back and add some more as I go and not really be pressured to finish something. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to make your own altered board book. And if you are interested in other tutorials just like this, you can check out these videos right here, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for joining me.